it's Doris from All of the Books, and I have my second wrap-up for this month. Here we go. I have read 7 more books. So I know you're saying there's 6 there, but there's 7 because I had an audiobook that I don't have a hard copy for that I listened to. Yeah, so I'm trying to read 30 books in 30 days. And so at the end of the first 10-day period, I did a wrap-up video of 7 books. And now the end of the second 10-day period, I'm going to do a wrap-up of 7 books. And I know you're doing the math. 7 and 7 is 14. 14 from 30 leaves 16 books left to be read in the last 10 days. Yeah. I hear you saying, I'm not going to do it. I hear myself saying I'm not going to do it. And I very well probably will not do it. But I do have some secret weapons on my bookshelf. And I do have cozy reading night tomorrow, so I'm pretty excited about that. And 4 of the 10 days are weekend days. Yes. So that's good. Except my sister did just call and say that she might come visit next weekend. So that might put a crimp in my reading plans. But that's okay. I love my sister and I would love for her to visit me. So yeah. So we shall see. I'm going to fight the good fight. Cheer me on. Anyway, let's jump right in. The first one I read was The Power by Naomi Alderman, and this was a great read. It was extremely thought-provoking. This one was shortlisted for the Baileys, which I have found out is going to be announced the final winner on June 7th. Thank you, Belle, for telling me that. So, yeah. Very thought-provoking. The premise is that right around puberty, there's been some genetic mutation, so now right around puberty, girls develop this electrical power and shock power. So they become, you know, dominant in their physicality, I guess you would say. So, I mean, my first thought was that would be so nice. Women wouldn't have to worry about the rape culture anymore. And that was naive of me. The thought-provoking part of this really for me was that Naomi Alderman goes past that assumption and gets to the corruption of power. And yeah, women are just as easily corrupted with power as men are. So there's a lot of rape in here of men. So if that's going to stress you out, you probably don't want to read this book. Yeah. It's very, very thought-provoking. So I can see how it made it to the Bailey shortlist. I did think the writing was a little bit more mainstream. How shall I say it? Like pulp fiction-y. It's less of a literary fiction genre, which didn't seem to fit with the Bailey's Prize to me, but the premise of the book definitely did. It's very innovative, so there's that. And one thing I did want to mention is when you go to read it, the beginning and end of the book are letters written between the male author. I know it's a woman author, but the premise is the book is written by a man. And this is his rough draft text, his arc, if you will. And he's sharing it with a good friend who's a female who is giving him her thoughts and suggestions on it. So when you're reading that part, pay attention that the dates, it's way in the future. Because I didn't realize that at first. And so I got to the end, I was like, wait a minute, what just happened? And then I had to go back and, oh, okay, I get it now. Yeah. So anyway, this was a great read. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Then I read The Language of Flowers, or rather listened to it. This was one of my audiobooks. And this one was thoroughly enjoyable too. I had a lot of thoroughly enjoyables during this little 10-day period. This one was a girl that grew up completely in foster care from the time she was a baby. And she was kind of more or less born with a chip on her shoulder. She's a pretty porcupine personality. She's a very touchy-feely, stay away from me kind of person. And yeah, it's a romance, but it's very atypical because, you know, she's got such distance from people. And I just liked it. I did. I was going to say something else about it, but I just lost that thought. Oh, tension. There's some tension in this one right a little past the halfway point. It made me tense as a mother for several chapters, which is good. You want tension in a book, right? I won't tell you anything else because, you know, I don't like to know anything about books when I'm going into them. But yeah, it wasn't anything deep and profound, but really I enjoyed it a lot. Non-traditional romance. I'm sorry for the lighting. We're having a flood here in Middle Tennessee, majorly, and so it's 2:30 in the afternoon and just really dark outside. But what can you do? Oopsie. Next up, I have The Portable Veblen by Elizabeth Mackenzie. Another just thoroughly enjoyable novel. Another quirky romance. The couple are engaged in this story, and they both come from dysfunctional families. Both are completely dysfunctional, and the irony between the two is what makes it funny and drives the plot. So the girl is a total free spirit. I loved her. And the guy he's a doctor, and he's a research doctor, and he's trying to, you know, make it big in the corporate world. And I wasn't sure if I liked him for a goodly portion of the book. But the irony is that her mother is a total hypochondriac, manipulative, controlling, and his parents are total flower children and free spirits, and, you know, and yeah. So it just makes for a real quirky read. And yes, there are squirrels, or a squirrel, that plays a dominant role in the story. So very enjoyable. And then I finished Don't Know Much About Geography by Kenneth C. Davis. And this was one of the ones that had been on my shelf half read for a long, long time. 14 years to be precise. Yeah. So I'm not gonna lie, I skim read the second half. I didn't even bother rereading the first part, and I skim read the second half. And it's kind of more written on a young adult level, I think. So high school students, middle school students. I enjoyed it, the parts I read, but like some of it was more interesting to me than others. It starts out with, you know, early history and ends up at the space race, and so I would just kind of skim through, and as a topic caught my interest, I would read that thoroughly, and then things that weren't as appealing to me, I would kind of skim them pretty quickly just to get it finished. And then I read The Tempest by William Shakespeare, and I read this in preparation for Hagseed by Margaret Atwood. Yeah, so this was a great combination. I tend to not enjoy reading Shakespeare. I really like watching it. People that play up the comedic side of it. I really love that. And I also love when I'm sitting in a class with a teacher that really enjoys Shakespeare and can teach it well, because there definitely is a lot of depth to Shakespeare. I love that. So this was the best of both worlds. So I'm totally glad that I read The Tempest before I read Hagseed, because I could see the outline of The Tempest in Hagseed. It was really neat seeing how this played off of The Tempest. But then this is written as a director who has been shafted by his assistant director and loses his job, and 12 years later he gets his vengeance, and he has taken a position as an instructor at a prison and puts on The Tempest. Like every year he puts on a Shakespeare play, but the year that the vengeance is exacted, he puts on The Tempest. And Margaret Atwood does a great job of explaining the different aspects of the Tempest in this, but just in a story. You know, it doesn't seem like she's teaching you, but I love the combination. So they played really well off each other, and I just enjoyed this. You know, I've read criticisms that the ending is too predictable and easy and not edgy enough, and I would agree, but I enjoyed that too. Sometimes you just want easy reads, and that's what this was. That's what pretty much all of these were this 10-day period. The Power was kind of edgy, just the topic, but it was, like I said, more of an easy read too. So it was a good 10 days, and I will keep you posted on the last 10 days of the month. Wish me luck. I'm going to need it. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon. Bye. You know, women won't have to worry about walking the streets anymore, and they don't, for the most part. I don't mean walking the streets like a streetwalker. That came out wrong. You know what I mean? You know, safe at night. Safe any time of the day. You don't have to worry about your personal safety because you're a woman and not strong enough. I'm going to start over.